The alpha's patience wears thin. Kaelen Blackthorn has never been denied, never been defied. Yet Serenya, his fated mate, resists him with every breath. The bond burns hotter, the tension sharper, and jealousy sparks when another dares to stand too close. Will Kaelen's dominance break her resolve, or will Serenya's will prove stronger than destiny itself? Welcome back to Alpha's Reluctant Luna, Chapter 3, The Alpha's Frustration and the Luna's Resolve. Before we dive into this storm of passion and defiance, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. What would you do if fate chose for you? Let's begin. The sun had barely risen over the northern ridges when Kaelen Blackthorn strode across the Stormfang Pack's training grounds. Every step he took exuded dominance. Every movement radiated power. His wolf prowled alongside him, senses sharp, alert, but even it seemed unnerved by the faint undercurrent of tension in the pack. Kaelen rarely felt frustrated, rarely lost control over his calm, but today was different. Today, the one female he had been drawn to, his mate, had defied him. He stopped near the center of the clearing, folding his arms across his broad chest as he surveyed the pack's warriors. Their formations were competent, disciplined, but they paled in comparison to the tactical training he had brought from the northern territories. Still, his gaze kept drifting to the edge of the forest, where he had sensed her earlier. The pull he felt towards Serenya was stronger than anything he had ever known, and it gnawed at him like fire. He had never been drawn to any female before. He had turned away suitors, ignored flattery, and remained untouched because he had known that his mate would find him, and only his mate would ever matter. And now she was here, somewhere nearby, hiding, resisting. Kaelen's wolf growled low in his mind, echoing the frustration that burned through him. She senses me, Alpha. She knows you are here, and yet she runs. Kaelen's jaw tightened. His control was slipping, an unfamiliar heat rising in his chest, a tension he could neither ignore nor release. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Serenya's morning had been no less tumultuous. She had retreated to a small glade where the witch's spell seemed to hold firm. She pored over the vial's faint magic, whispering low incantations she barely understood, willing her wolf into temporary obedience. The bond's pull was dulled, yet even now faint whispers of Kaelen's presence flared in her chest, teasing her, challenging her. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the small charm she had tied around her wrist, the witch's final protection. She dared not drink the spell again. Too much reliance on it could weaken her own resilience. Instead, she would rely on sheer will, on discipline, on the promise her parents had made. 3 months. 3 months of freedom to choose her own path. She didn't notice the shadow until it moved, subtle, silent, a presence she could sense before she saw it. Her pulse jumped.
"You're very persistent," a deep voice said behind her. Serenya spun, her heart leaping. There he was, Kaelen, silver eyes like a storm at sea, wolfish aura brimming with unspoken dominance. Even now, the spell blurred the bond, yet she could feel him, a magnetic force tugging at her, demanding recognition. "I told you to leave me alone," she snapped, trying to steady her voice. Kaelen stepped closer, deliberately, his gaze fixed on hers. "And I told you I do not leave what belongs to me." His wolf stirred beside him, low and rumbling, resonating with the tension between them. Her wolf whimpered, urging her to flee, yet her legs were rooted. She had to resist. She had to. "You don't understand. I am not yours to claim." Kaelen's lips curved into a slow, frustratingly calm smile. "I have never felt this before," he admitted, voice quiet but burning with intensity. "Never for another female, yet every fiber of me recognizes you." She swallowed hard, the pull of him stronger than ever. Every instinct in her body wanted to surrender, to lean into the heat of his presence, to let her wolf merge with his in a rush of recognition and desire. And yet, she resisted, drawing in a shaky breath. "You are dangerous," she said softly. "And I am not ready." Kaelen's eyes darkened. "Dangerous." His voice was sharp now, a low growl threading through the words. "You mean irresistible. You mean impossible to ignore. You mean mine whether you accept it or not." The air crackled between them, thick with tension. Serenya's wolf growled beneath her skin, desperate, impatient. "It is him! It has always been him!" Serenya's hands clenched, nails biting into her palms. She could feel her heartbeat rising, her body betraying her resolve with every shallow breath. I will not yield," she whispered, almost a plea to herself rather than to him. Kaelen's gaze softened fractionally, but the power behind it never waned. "I do not ask you to yield. I only ask that you see the truth. We are bound. You feel it and I feel it. Denying it will only make it stronger. Fighting me will only hurt you." Her wolf whimpered, frustrated, conflicted. It wanted to give in, to run into his arms, to feel the safety and the raw power that only he could give. But she could not. Not yet. Her freedom, her choice, the promise of her birthday, all hung in the balance. A snapping twig behind them caused both to glance sharply toward the forest. Serenya tensed, but Kaelen's hand shot out, gripping her wrist, not roughly, but with possessive authority. "Do not move," he murmured. His proximity was overwhelming, scent, power, and heat mingling into a force she could neither ignore nor escape. Serenya felt a flush rise to her cheeks. I can't," she stammered. I have to—" "You have to nothing," Kaelen interrupted, his silver eyes blazing. "Your wolf screams for me. Your blood calls to me. You can resist, yes, but your body, your heart, cannot." Her pulse thundered, almost painful in its intensity. The spell dulled the bond, yes, but it did nothing to lessen the magnetic heat radiating from him. And Kaelen, his presence, his voice, his eyes, made it almost impossible to maintain her resolve. She wrenched her hand free, stepping back, forcing herself to breathe. I will not now," she said, her voice trembling. I have to survive 3 months." Kaelen's jaw tightened, a flicker of frustration passing through his normally calm demeanor. 3 months, he repeated slowly, almost to himself. "Then we shall see if your will is as strong as you claim." Serenya turned, heart pounding, and ran toward the deeper forest, the spell's protection her only shield against the irresistible pull of her mate. Kaelen did not pursue it immediately. He let her run, watching her retreating figure with a storm in his chest. His wolf growled, but Kaelen only exhaled slowly. The chase was not over. This was merely the beginning. Even in her flight, Serenya could feel his presence, and every step she took was both a defiance and an admission. The mate bond was there. It was real. And no spell, no distance, no determination could erase the pull that bound them together. Serenya ran until her legs burned and her breath came ragged. She burst through the thicket into a clearing dappled with sunlight where the air felt cooler and thinner. She collapsed against a moss-covered boulder, clutching at her side as her lungs fought for air. Her wolf clawed at her mind, furious and desperate. "Why do you run from him? He is ours." "Because I want to choose," she snapped back, pressing her hands over her ears as if that could muffle the relentless voice. I won't let fate chain me before I've lived." Her wolf whimpered, frustrated. "You're breaking us apart. You deny what we are." She shut her eyes and leaned her head back against the stone, fighting the tears that threatened to burn their way down her cheeks. The witch's spell was working, barely, but even with its protection, Kaelen's pulse still hummed through her veins like wildfire.
And worse, she knew he would not stop. Back at the training grounds, Kaelen paced like a caged predator. His warriors watched silently, unsure if they should speak. He had been brought here to teach, to strengthen this pack's young fighters, but his focus was split, his mind clouded by the female who fled from him as though he were a monster. Every instinct told him to chase her, to drag her back, to demand recognition of what fate had decreed. Yet his wolf growled with restraint. She is resisting. If you corner her, she will break. Do not shatter her spirit. You want her strong.
Kaelen snarled aloud, startling the closest warrior. Pair off, he barked, voice edged with command. Run drills until your bodies fail. As the warriors scrambled, Kaelen's eyes scanned the field, and then they landed on something that made his wolf bristle. Serenya had returned. She lingered at the far edge of the grounds, speaking with one of the younger male wolves, her brother second in command, a tall, lean warrior with brown hair and quick reflexes. The male leaned closer as Serenya spoke, his expression soft, almost tender. Serenya's laughter, light and unguarded, drifted across the field. Kaelen's body went rigid. His wolf erupted in a guttural growl inside him. He is too close. He touches what is ours. He dares. Kaelen's eyes burned silver. He strode across the grounds before he could think, boots pounding the dirt, the warriors halting mid-spar as the northern alpha cut through their ranks like a storm. Serenya's laughter faltered the instant she saw him. Her smile froze, her body stiffened, and the color drained from her face. The male beside her turned as well, bowing his head instinctively in respect. "Alpha Blackthorn?" he greeted, voice steady but wary. Kaelen's gaze did not leave Serenya. "Step away," he ordered coldly, though the command was directed at the male. The warrior hesitated only for a second before bowing deeper and retreating several paces. Serenya's eyes flashed with anger at the sight, her lips parting in protest. "You had no right?" she began, but Kaelen cut her off. "No right?" His voice was low, lethal, each syllable dripping with restrained fury. "You call it what you will, little wolf, but I do not share. Not my strength, not my territory, and not my mate." Serenya's breath caught, the heat of his nearness overwhelming. Her wolf thrilled at his words, shivering with delight. But her human heart ached with the weight of his dominance, the loss of her fragile freedom. She took a shaky step back, fists clenched. "I will not be claimed, Kaelen. Not by you, not by anyone." His jaw tightened, the storm in his eyes flashing dangerously. He had never begged, never chased, never felt the sting of rejection. And yet here she stood, trembling but defiant, resisting the bond that both their wolves screamed for. Kaelen exhaled slowly, forcing control back into his voice. "Then resist. Fight me if you must. But every day, every hour, the bond will grow stronger. And when your walls crumble, Serenya, I will be waiting." He turned sharply and stalked back toward the training grounds, leaving her shaking, breathless, and torn apart by the truth in his words. The battlefield is no longer the training grounds. It's the heart. Serenya flees, fights, and defies the alpha at every turn. But Kaelen's vow is clear. He does not share, and he will not stop. The mate bond is growing stronger, and the line between resistance and surrender is thinning fast. What will happen when her walls finally crack? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on? Serenya's fight for freedom or Kaelen's unrelenting claim? Don't forget to hit like if you felt the fire of this chapter, and subscribe so you don't miss Chapter 4 of Alpha's Reluctant Luna here on The Velvet Story.